Hi G,
Hey, Alan.
how are you?
Very well, and you?
Yeah, good. I'm pumped for this one. Should be a fun one. The last one was probably like a bit more heavy. This one is interesting because this really talks about our like daily life, the daily habits, and more specifically our home space.
Mm.
Um, and when I see for myself, but I think in general, the time people spend at their homes because of the homeworking, because of just like, the cozying up in their environment is really also like a trend. It's more and more important to feel good in your home, but also use your home as a kind of way to also enhance your health and enhance your the way you feel. Is this something like you look at, or how do you look at your home space?
No, I agree. I find, probably 6, 7 years ago, I was the person that I couldn't stay at home, and I always had to go somewhere, leave, meet people. Um, but then especially maybe after COVID and also after I got with John, so I realized, no, actually, home is so nice, and I think sometimes you have to put so much more effort to go out, and I think creating this environment at home that it's comfortable, it's nice, but also it's probably healthy and free of, I know, germs, or, well, I mean, it's a broader topic overall, but I definitely agree that home is the place where you spend the most time. It's where you rest. It's where you mostly eat, where you think. And if that environment is not very friendly to you, then it, I think, can impact a lot of other aspects of your life. So,
Yeah, and I think today there is also more and more data on everything related to your home space, and so I think today is like a good day to look at around you and what you can like improve,
mhm.
because it has a huge impact on your health, and from my perspective, but also from a perspective like of traditions. And as you know, I'm a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. There is also a tradition in ancient China which is called Feng Shui, which kind of everybody knows. But these principles are also very sound on like, okay, how do I organize my home space? And we can throughout this episode make links on like, okay, how can I make my home better to also have a positive impact on my health? And I think Feng Shui speaks to that, and we can make those links between modern research and what kind of old traditions like Feng Shui say about your home, because in Feng Shui your home is like it's like your body. You have
Mhm.
these balances and this free flow of energy of qi that happens in your body when you're like in an optimal state of health. That should also be the case in your home. So the way the qi can circulate in your home in a kind of unbothered way is also kind of the basis, and also the fact that you really have like this invisible energetic relationship with your home, and even with like the objects in your home. So the closer or the more objects you use on a daily basis, the closest also this energetic relationship
Mhm.
has. It's like this invisible thread you have with your home and your objects. So yes, they are like super important because they have an immediate impact on our mood, on our health, etc. So yeah.
I'm curious. I have a question
Yeah.
to you. So you've moved places quite a lot of times in your life. So how would each of the times, I mean, if we would disregard, the physical hassle and maybe the logistics, but how would it affect you maybe on emotional level, right? Because if you change all the things that you've said, so what kind of impact it has, if you
Yeah.
move from one place to another?
Of course, those changes took a toll on me. So I moved 12 times in my life,
Wow.
which I think is maybe not the average, so for different reasons, but every time it's a huge disruption in your life, and it brings a lot of chaos and stress also, because it takes time to make your home home.
Mm.
right? It takes a lot of time to feel, how can I make this my place, and how can I. So I think what's important, and what I've learned throughout the years, is that um, getting to a new place, or looking at places to rent or to buy, I need to have this good intuition about the space. It's like, okay, I can do something with this place, and with Feng Shui, you have some indications of like, okay, is there enough light? Is there a good circulation of energy? If there are too many doors, that's not a good thing. The spaces need to be open. Is the place elevated, or is it rather in more down? Is it near a river? Is it all those questions are important, but the way you are going to feel is super important. And I did often the mistakes of just looking at, okay, is there a garden? Is there a terrace? What is the orientation? Which is also important. Are there 2 rooms? Is the bathroom nice? All those more rational questions, without sometimes really thinking of how do I feel? I give you an example. When I was much younger, I went to rent an apartment, and it was like the rooftop apartment, and I was looking for a nice terrace, and this place had like a super nice terrace. It was like, I think 35 square meters of terrace, so really nice. But the place was tiny, so the place was maybe like 65 square meters, so really like the terrace was half the place. But I was so like, wow, the terrace is super nice, south orientation, and I rent the apartment. But I needed to take a bit more time to look at the apartment itself inside, because it was under a roof. So there was like, everything was under a roof, and the roof had like a, how do you call this?
Like a down slide.
Yeah,
Not slide.
I don't have the word in English, but it does. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
So meaning that everything was under there. So the bed was under there, meaning the space was really small above my head. But the shower also. So the bathroom was like that as well. So every space was like that, was super cramped. So you don't have to be an expert in Feng Shui to know that this is really bad. And I lasted not very long. And knowing the long winters in Belgium, I didn't really enjoy that terrace that often. So just to give you an example, but I think it's important like to have this to know how you feel in a space, and to really make it yours.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think often when it comes to spaces, and I think maybe we don't rely on our gut feeling that much, but whenever you enter any sort of place, right? I mean, you feel a particular way about it, right? So I think it's also important to really maybe, stand still, look around, and how does this environment make you feel? I think where I personally feel much better, if there's a lot of light, if there are a lot of windows, if there's a lot of natural light coming in, and there's some places where there's like small windows or somewhere in the basement, and naturally that's not gonna why we. And I was talking to a friend of mine last week, or was it the week before? It was in Netherlands. The whole week was sunny. Everyone was so easy to deal with. Employees smiling, my colleagues are happy, everyone is celebrating. So naturally, there's a very clear correlation between our happiness, how we feel, and sunlight or natural light. So also I think when it comes down to choosing a place where you live, this is also very important. But at the same time, is it maybe west or east side when it comes to, for example, your bedroom? I lived in a place where the bedroom was on the western side, and of course the summers in Netherlands, I mean, now it's getting warmer and warmer, but oh my God, in the evenings the place would get boiling, like 30 degrees, and curtains, nothing would really help. And considering that a lot of these houses are still all, they're old built, it would be unbearable. So yeah, as you've said, considering how much time we spend there, and it's so that our home is also kind of our safe haven, there are definitely a lot of things to take into consideration.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe let's start digging in, and let's look at let's take the viewer, the listener with us. in the different rooms of our little house, or whatever you want to call it for today. Can be an apartment, of course, as well. And the idea of today is look at what are the things we need to look at if we want to optimize our health. And not even before talking optimization, is like look at the things that really are bad or really detrimental for our health. I've done a lot of research for this one. I know you too, so it's going to be interesting to share it with everyone. And maybe we can start with a place where everybody is like every day, and it's the kitchen. And there are like a lot of things to talk about. And maybe the most obvious one, and let's start with this one, because I think not only do we know today the effects on our health, but we also know that this is not going to disappear that easily, are plastics. There is a lot of research now around microplastics and nanoplastics. So microplastic, nanoplastics, so the small particles of plastic that gets leached or that gets into our bodies, can be through skin, by the way, but of course ingestion is a big one. And we know today that on a yearly basis everybody swallows quite a quantity of it. It's relative to like a credit card, I think, which is like a lot. So what's happening with like the microplastics is the accumulation over time. So the more microplastics enter our body, there is like this accumulation in the different organs, which can create like, of course, an immunity overstimulation, because your body detects those microplastics and sees them as kind of strange bodies, and like, so there is this immunity response that's happening. But also more worrying than that is like really it goes to like DNA damage. So it's really profound. And it's also linked to like all kinds of diseases, etc. I know for you, the gut microbiome is important. Microplastics, they get into your gut. They have a very negative effect on the microbiome. They disrupt your endocrine system, they create chronic inflammation, and the list goes on and on and on. Are all plastics equally bad? No. So we need to make a bit of a difference. But let's go over the list. So you know that every type of plastic has a kind of a number to classify the different types. You don't always see the number on everything, right? So you can have like cookware or containers, and you don't always see a number. But it's important to first check, I see a number? So let's start with the worst plastics. And the worst plastics is like these plastic food wraps.
Yeah.
That's number one thing you have to throw away. These food wraps, they are like PVC, made of PVC, which is number 3 in the plastic classification. You also find them in water pipes. So, which of course, this is not something that's easy to change, but your water runs through the water pipes. So you can imagine that's already the first kind of contamination possibility is through the water pipes. And PVC is also used in flooring. So check that when you want to have those floorings, which are plastic made, so not wood, which I would recommend. And you start walking on this flooring with your smelly, sweaty, bare feet. You can have contamination as well. That's the first one. The second one is polystyrene. It's number 6 in the plastic classification, and that honestly made me very sad when I saw that, because this is one used in like the cheapest plastic containers. which is used, for example, for takeout, for takeaway. And that's a issue because, who doesn't like some takeaway
of course,
once in a while?
Especially probably when it gets hot, right? Because when the food is warm and then it has
exactly. So the recommendation there, of course, is like, okay, if it's already hot, you cannot do anything about it, but at least like try to find a place, because there are some alternatives when they use like more carton boxes or things like that. But like this small plastic containers are really bad. And then what you should not do is like, please don't use them to reheat your food in the microwave oven, because of course then it's going to be reheated, and the microwave has also a direct effect on heating up the plastic and on like,
or microwave in general.
Microwave. I don't have a microwave. Yeah, you're right. And then don't wash them into your dishwasher to reuse them for other purposes afterwards. No, please throw them away. Unfortunately, this has also like a big ecological impact, by the way.
Yeah.
So I don't have a clear-cut solution for this, because I also like takeout once in a while. You have also these foam cups are often made of like polystyrene as well. And everything that's like, this like a kind of foam, plastic foam is polystyrene, so it's really bad. And then let's talk about like the number 7, which is polycarbonate, which contains BPA. Meaning like water bottles, like single-use water bottles. So these cheap plastic water bottles, these are really bad. Don't reuse these water bottles as well, because they contaminate your water really, really, really fast. And then there is one thing also that's important with this number 7 is like this, the linings you have in your food cans. So the metal food cans, when you open your food can, there is always a plastic lining around it.
True.
And so when you start with your fork or your whatever, starting to get the food out there and then scratch that lining, it gets into your food. So this is really something to be careful with when you handle them, at least. Is these food cans, and then the rest I will not go over everything. These are like the worst. And then you have other like the number 1s, the number 2s, and the number 5s. Number 5 you see a lot. And it's called like, it's the PP. You see PP is number 5, is like also used a lot. And this like over time, when you use it once, is kind of fine, but over time it will like shed microplastics as well. So this is kind of, the containers and the type of plastics. There are other plastics, and I guess you know also, like in a kitchen you have the coffee machine. Because plastic and heat don't go well together. And it's the same for your cooking ware. It's like when you use plastic, don't heat it up, or don't put like, for example, for the coffee machine, if you open your coffee machine, all these flexible plastics, these are the worst, because the flexible plastics, they add a lot of different chemicals, BPA being one, phthalates, to make this plastic flexible. And then you're going to pour super hot water into your coffee machine, into those plastic tubes to get into your coffee cup. There are today some coffee machines that are like exclusively in like stainless steel, but they are super expensive. So here also, I don't have the perfect solution, but just be aware of that it's a problem. And then you have also in general, and the cooking ware you use and that you use to like in a pan or in hot water. Don't use plastic, use wood. So I try to for my kitchen replace all this plastic with wood kitchenware. The only thing you need to be careful is with wood, you need to boil them once in a while. If you put them in boiling water, they will take out bacteria, because otherwise you will have an accumulation of bacteria on this wood.
But even, well, if I may add, there's an interesting one. So, for example, a lot of there was a trend where a lot of people were sort of told, yeah, for meat or fish, you have to buy plastic cutting boards, for example, right? Because it doesn't contaminate. If you use wood, it does. I read a recent research paper that says that actually, for example, if you put red meat on a wooden cut board, that within 48 to 72 hours, these bacteria die. Right, so it doesn't mean that it really gets in the wood and it stays there forever. Of course, if you keep on reusing it, as you've said, boiling water works very well. Or for wood, baking soda with lemon works also very well. That also can clean your wood very well. But especially, I think one thing you haven't mentioned, so cooking utensils, 100%. And even I know myself, we have it at home still, and Jansu would always tell me that even when you're using, for example, a frying pan, you're cooking something, and something you would just leave sometimes the the utensil in the pan, because it's just more convenient. But of course, as you've said, the heat, it just, it doesn't help. But cutting board is definitely another big one. And I still see even some restaurants still to this day where I was at this restaurant, they have this open kitchen. They're using cutting boards that are plastic. And you have the blue one for fish, red one for meat, but it's all plastic.
That's crazy. That's crazy because that one is feasible.
Yeah.
You see, you cut into the plastic,
exactly.
so it's
so you
shedding.
use a
You
knife,
see it.
yeah, exactly that. So
That's
it's
crazy.
it's even worse. And no, I think plastic overall, kitchen is probably just one of the examples where we encounter it so much, and now we as a society probably getting more aware of the implications that plastic has, as you mentioned. But yeah, there's so much more, and I think the simplest and smallest things. I was reading, and I was shocked that, for example, kitchen sponge. So kitchen sponge, just that we wash dishes with, on average, and can you imagine that within 1 week of use, kitchen sponge can have up to 54 billion bacteria per cubic centimeter, which is equivalent to our fecal. So basically, it gets as much bacteria as our poop within 1 week. Now, it's so again, and I've been using kitchen sponges for many years. Now all of a sudden I'm starting to doubt, because even the argument would be, oh yeah, use boiling water. The thing is, the difficulty about kitchen sponge is that it has this sort of porous structure. So these bacteria, they stay in there, and the moisture is basically a perfect environment for bacteria to multiply and to grow, right? Because it's always warm, there's food, so when you wash dishes, and it has this porous structure, so even if you try to use boiling water or clean it, it just doesn't work. So
I think what we are saying here also is like, try to change what you can. Okay, we are not like, it's difficult to get rid of all the plastics.
Yeah.
Another example is like in your dishwasher, or these dishwasher tablets. These all-in-one dishwasher tablets. They have this plastic wrap around it. Okay, and the idea is, of course, they have these 3 components, these 3 detergents in them, and so the dishwasher heats up, and then of course it melts. Where is the plastic going, do you think?
Into your plates. And
of course.
Yeah.
And then the problem is, because the water is very hot, this plastic is dissolving, and it's kind of sticky and gets on your dishwasher plates. So there the idea is like, try to not have like these very short cycles, because if you have a very short cycle, it's not going to rinse that much. So try to have a cycle with more rinsing, that at least you rinse your dishes more into the machine. Or there are some alternatives. You can use either like the separate detergents, but then who does that? You have to use the three different detergents. Or there are some alternatives I found online of like plastic-free tablets. I don't know if they are as efficient, but that's the things that kind of come to mind in the kitchen.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think there are always alternatives, right? It's as you've said, for utensils we have wood, the tablets, even I was mentioning kitchen sponges, so you can buy the brushes, for example, if you wanna clean dishes by hand.
And I replaced all my containers, all Tupperware stuff. I replaced them all with glass. There is still like a plastic lid on it, but it's not in contact with the food.
Okay.
And I have some like in stainless steel as well, but I like glass, and I use glass that I can also put in the freezer if I want. So glass is a very good option, because even with some cheap metals that it says stainless steel, but you also have to be careful of the quality.
Oh yeah, for sure. I had an experience where I bought a stainless steel flask, and I was drinking water from a couple of months until I started noticing that water has an interesting smell. And as I looked inside the flask, it was completely rusty.
Oh my God!
So it was rust.
So
so
not stainless.
Not stainless. So it's also taking and it was I think from an event I got it, and it was said it's stainless steel, which was not so.
Oh my God.
But yeah, anyways, I'm not sure if there anything else from plastic in the kitchen or
no. I think that's it. I think that these are like the most important points. So what I did personally, so I changed my containers. It's honestly, it's not that huge cost. Using the wood utensils, that's not a huge cost.
Yeah.
So the coffee machine is still like a bit a question mark, of course. There are some systems, and then the dishwasher thing. The microwave, I don't use microwave. To be honest, I don't see a lot of. I don't miss it, let's say.
Yeah, but it's also not. I mean, when microwave came out, and of course I was then probably I wasn't even born. I wasn't probably even born. I don't know how many years ago, but I mean, it was a massive revelation. But because of how electromagnetic it is, I mean, it's also, you could argue, and there's quite a bit of research suggesting that microwave is not that good for you. It's not that healthy. And I mean, now we have these microwaves integrated in ovens often. But if you can use oven or pan to warm up food, it's a much better and healthier alternative to you, because microwave works on frequencies, and we'll talk about electromagnetic harms at a later stage. But yeah, if you can, just don't use it. I think another big one for kitchen is because kitchen is probably the area that gets dirty the most, right? That's where we have to clean it the most, right? Because we cook, it gets greasy, there's a lot going on there. So I think first thing is, it all comes down to ventilation in your kitchen. So it does happen because of the steam. So of course, if we have the chimney, please use it, because a lot of that residue, according to research, it can actually even stick to your walls. So for example, if you're cooking something and it's being burned, right? So in general, burned food can be seen as even carcinogenic, right? It can influence cancer, and all of these particles, they're even called I think volatile organic compounds. So it's basically chemical emissions that can get glued to surfaces. So that's why it's very important to clean that environment, right? Because that's the environment where we breathe. So of course, also to have well ventilated. But also when it comes to cleaning, there's so many different cleaning products, and honestly, now when you go to a supermarket, cleaning product for oven, cleaning product for surface, and a lot of these cleaning products, they are very, very chemical, meaning that it also comes down to, and we can talk about it later, cleaning and disinfecting, right? Because we don't want to we want to make sure that the environment is clean. So sometimes just wiping it with a wet towel and a bit of soap is sufficient, because a lot of these cleaning products can contain chemicals that are actually harmful for our even airways, or for our, and even can cause, there's research suggesting that some chemical cleaning products can even cause asthma or increase asthma risk by 50%. Bleach.
You know what I also what I'm very cautious with the cleaning products is also because I have a cat, and my cat is walking all over the kitchen and then licks itself, and if I don't, like, I need to pay attention, like the type of products I use, because this can also cause really harm to your pet.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I think like few takeaways. So people, and well, actually she won't like it, but my partner, she loves bleach. She uses bleach for a lot of things, but bleach, generally is not that good for you. It's not good for you because even it has contact with your skin and you still breathe in. So try to choose more natural cleaning products.
Like ammoniac, a lot of people use ammoniac also.
Yeah,
Same,
yeah,
same.
or if the cleaning product has a lot of fragrance, also like fragrance, yes, it smells nice, but believe me, it's not good for you. So try to choose more either mineral based, but or in general more natural cleaning products, or just regular soap. And also avoid specifically spray cleaners, because spray cleaners are so convenient, but they're much more associated again with any with potential increase in either asthma or any health health issues that concerns your basically lungs and your air pathways, right?
I have to admit, I still use a spray for my induction plate because it really gets really dirty, and I have the impression if I use like more natural products, it won't clean that well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I guess when it comes down to like surface, for example, people use a lot of spray for the surface, and that's maybe not that good. And yeah, just make sure that they don't, and especially these heavily fragranced cleaning materials or materials, they don't contain, as you said, ammonium compounds and added fragrances. On ideally avoid bleach if you can.
Yeah. No, super interesting. Maybe one last thing on the kitchen before we move on to another room is a lot of people today, and rightly so, use water filtering systems because we know today in tap water in many countries, including European countries, the tap water is contaminated. Contaminated with endocrine disruptors, contaminated with microplastics, but also contaminated with all kind of drugs, etc. It doesn't of course, you have like these filtering systems put in place by the cities, but it doesn't filter out everything. So we notice more and more, especially the last couple of years, contains a lot of microplastics, huge amount of microplastics. They are now looking how they can upgrade the city's filtering systems to also filter out the microplastics, but it's really very difficult. So I would for sure recommend a water filtering system at home, even for cooking, which honestly I don't do. I still use tap water if I want to boil water, etc. But of course, the boiling will dissolve the microplastic, but will not get rid of the microplastics. It's still in there. It's a good investment, and honestly, if you want a good water filtering system, it doesn't have to be that expensive. I would avoid the cheapest one you kind of find everywhere is kind of this just plastic container with filters you have to replace on a regular basis. And because these filters can very quickly contain mold, and also they don't filter out microplastics.
Okay.
So there is only there are only like two type of filters that are like recommended to filter out the microplastics, and one is like kind of the best one because it removes even the nano particles, so the smallest plastic particles, and that's reverse osmosis. So what is reverse osmosis is water that is like pressured against a semi-permeable membrane to really filter out the nanoparticles. But it's really like a very tiny filter, which means it retains everything else except water. So that's why the negative aspect of this kind of filtering system, it's also taking out all your minerals. So you have to have like a remineralization stage or get your minerals from your diet. So it's not the end of the world. But without the minerals, also your water has another taste, and it can be a bit strange. So advantages, disadvantages. But that's the the reverse osmosis is like the best filtering systems when it comes to plastic. So it's a good thing to also look up what's your for your city. They have data normally on their filtering system on the level of the city, and at least you can have some data. And if you see that the microplastics are not filtered out, maybe a reverse osmosis could be a good filtering system for you. There is another one which is, and the reverse osmosis, you can have one between 300 and 600 euro, but it's an investment you have, and then you have to change the filter once a year, which is not the end of the world. Another good one is the ceramic filters, and the ceramic filters work with really it's like a bigger filter. The big advantage here is that the containers, you can find containers of glass and stainless steel. So this is a good option if you don't want, because in the reverse osmosis, the container of the water can often be still in plastic. So, and the advantage of the ceramic filter compared to the reverse osmosis is you don't need electricity. So it's just run on itself, whereas reverse osmosis require electricity. The ceramic filter filters out the microplastic, but not the nanoparticles. So there is no perfect system, but these are like the two, I would say, the two most potent systems. Just to avoid like the cheap ones. The ceramic filters, you can also find one for like 200-300 euro, even on Amazon. And I would recommend. I like glass. I would recommend glass, but stainless steel is good as well. And just check that there are no small parts that are still in plastic, but you have some good systems there.
Interesting.
Do you have one at home?
No, I don't. But it's all. I didn't really know that ceramic filters really exist. So it's definitely something I'll look into.
more basically, maybe because we talked about the plastics in water bottles. What I use for mineral water that I buy in bottles is those bottles in glass.
Yeah.
So I buy them in glass, and then I bring the bottles back, and it's a bit of a hassle because, of course, it's heavy and you need to carry them. But if you can, at least use glass bottles and not plastic ones.
Yeah. I think maybe last thing I just wanted to add before we move away from the kitchen is probably the pans. So I myself recently bought many more steel pans because obviously non-stick pans, they're much more convenient, and they're not all that bad before, because they're not that bad now compared to before, because of the what's it called, PFAS?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So overall, all I'm gonna say is try to choose steel pans as an alternative because it's much healthier. And if your TFA pan or non-sticky pan gets scratches, and it does get scratches, just throw it away at some point, because there has been even research linking because then those chemical compounds really start getting into your food, and there's a lot of even links of hormone dysregulation and other diseases, because now I think there are many more regulations worldwide, that some of these chemicals that have been used in the past, they cannot be, but still it doesn't make it completely pain-free, let's say, or that it's not 100% healthy.
And the issue is there are a lot of studies on PFAS, but also if you see on pans now, they write PFAS free, BPA free, but there are other compounds. There are other compounds other than that are also not good. They just don't advertise on them. I had the worst experiences with those kind of pans when I go on vacation. When I arrive on an Airbnb, that's one of the first thing I check. To be honest, I go into the kitchen, and then often these overused pans scratch over. What do you do? It's maybe I should bring my own pan, but that's a bit weird. And that's terrible because you're going to have to cook something in there, and so even the smallest scratch, throw it away.
Exactly. Yeah. Shall we move to the bedroom maybe, or
You already
what
want
is
to
it
go
on?
to the bedroom.
Yeah, why not? So to have a little, or I mean, we can
No,
also,
okay, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, sure.
Bedroom is an interesting one because, well, we spoke so much in also our previous podcast how the importance of sleep is paramount, and creating this environment where we feel good is important. Bedroom is an interesting one, and maybe, well, bed specifically. So I think it all, of course, comes down to, I would honestly think, if you can avoid going out for couple of weekends and just save and buy a good mattress, it's going to save you a lot, because I think choosing a good comfortable bed and mattress is one of the best investments you can make at home, because sleep is where your body recovers, where it's just, I don't want to go into depth. I think it's all kind of
And
self-explanatory.
pillow, right? And
Pillow as well, and it might take a bit of trial and error, but mattress specifically, I know myself, when I go to, even back home to Lithuania, I always, my back starts hurting much more. I don't sleep well. Even my Whoop, the bracelet, it tracks that my REM sleep, or I don't get that much deep sleep if the bedding is not as comfortable. And if we go a little bit more into depth, it also comes down to the hygiene of bed. So human on average sheds 500 million skin cells per day, right? So that's quite a lot. And bed is a perfect environment for bacteria to grow. Why? Because it's nice and warm, it's moist, and there's also food, meaning your skin, right? So
I try not to think about all those details when I go to sleep tonight.
I know, but it's important to know, because, well, people probably wash their sheets differently. Some do it on a weekly basis, some every couple of days, some do it. I remember my university times. I had some friends that did it once every couple of months.
What? No.
Oh, well, you don't know Dutch students. I'm not putting any. Of course, I'm not generalizing, but it's just what I've seen. So also research shows that pillows, for example, contain around 16 different fungal species, right? Because we have saliva, we salivate.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
where I'm getting to is changing your bed sheets minimum, or at very least once a week, should be your bare minimum, because it just gets dirty. And what I mean dirty, within 1 week, your bed sheets can have as much bacteria as an outside surface. So a surface in a supermarket, for example, that's how much bacteria you have. And I have a very good example from my partner, John's, because she's very particular about cleaning. When we travel, for example, you come back from the airport, or you've been traveling now. We go with our phone to bed, we touch the phone, we touch the pillowcase, we touch our face, like everything. Disinfect those things. Like, make your bedroom and your bed a sterile environment, because that's where you sleep. That you can catch so many, your skin can get irritated. There's so much to talk about. And maybe last thing to add is that when it comes choosing the bed sheets, of course, cotton is probably the most common one. So really avoid silicone, right? Silicone doesn't breathe. It's and we also sweat a lot. We lose up to half a liter of fluid. So if you don't breathe, then this environment for bacteria to grow is even enhanced. And of course, it's a bit pricey, but silk contains sericin protein, which actually works as antimicrobial, or it has antimicrobial functions, right? So silk arguably is one of the best alternatives you can use as bed sheets.
What about linen?
I don't know. I would assume, because linen is so light and it's also easily breathable, I would assume it's also probably maybe even better than cotton. But yeah. So overall, I think take care of your bed, and disinfect your phone. Don't bring things that are dirty that you brought from streets. Don't sit with trousers that you've been sitting in a public transport on your bed sheets. Just treat it as
super interesting. Okay, can I take a completely different angle?
Of course.
Which is more like the Feng Shui angle of the bedroom, because it's an important place. Also, we spend like half of our lives there.
That's true.
Right? It's
Yeah.
crazy to think about that. So if you want to have, from a Feng Shui perspective, like if you want to optimize your bedroom, so like you said, like the position of the bed is important. So place it facing the door, but not in line. So you need to see, and that's kind of a rule for everywhere, every room. If you consider Feng Shui, is if you're, for example, cooking in the kitchen, the best position is when you're cooking, you can see the door. When you're working, so when you're at your desk working, try to be in a position where you can see the door. It's the same with the bedroom. When you're in your bed, you need to see the door. That's a way also your body feels safe. It's like seeing the door. It's very kind of like reptilian, because
But like see the door like face to face, or I can see the door like the door is on the left.
Exactly, that's an important detail. So your bed doesn't have to be in line with the door. So that's a no-go. Not in line with the door, but you have to see the door. Another important thing is that your head faces, or is the bed needs to be against a wall. That's important. That's kind of like the grounding aspect. Not, and that's kind of obvious, not under a window. And another important thing is that your I forgot what I was going to say. Anyways, these are like the most important things. Yes, nothing under the bed. So if you put things under the bed, or you buy those beds with like maybe drawers underneath, that's not so good, because the energy circulation needs to, your chi needs to circulate under your bed as well.
That's so interesting. Yeah, you have those high beds where people, put all of their cluster under.
Don't do that when you want to sleep, because here we talk about like the optimization. So what's one thing that's also important if you want to improve your relationship and like more the intimacy part of your bedroom, is when you have objects like lamps, or I don't know, candles or whatever, always buy them in pair. So never just one lamp alone in the bedroom. Buy the two same lamps, etc. So always in pair. The other thing is in terms of color. What you don't want to have is like very cold colors, all white. No, it needs to be more warm and natural. So natural colors, warm colors are good colors for your bedroom. And if you want to have some art in the bedroom, it's better to choose like art pieces also with warm and natural colors. Avoid pictures of waterfalls, everything that's water. That's not good. Because that's going to drain your energy. So these are like a couple of things that are important. There are like a lot of details you can find from a Feng Shui perspective. For example, you have two sides of the bed, and one side is more yin, which is the left side, and the other side is more yang, which is the right side. So if you are a couple, if you are the person who is maybe working more and more active, you should sleep on the yang side. And if you are maybe the one who is maybe less active and just maybe just quieter, should sleep on the left side, which is the yin side. It was like traditionally the man on the right and the woman on the left, but we're talking about energy, so can be different. So these are like the small tips, let's say, for the bedroom.
That's super interesting. Like a lot of new information for me as well. But as you say, they also the yin and yang example. Yeah. I think there's also probably a big topic about the cluster, right? I mean, it doesn't only come down to bedroom, but it's probably to your home overall. Cluster can just, I mean, there's more and more emerging research that, and so there's one side, which is of course, dust and so if you have a lot of small things laying around, and a lot of, maybe when you travel, you like buying, I don't know, some small accessories, whatever it is. But I think bedroom at least is this place where you should try to decluster and leave it as empty and as clean as possible, right? Because a lot of these small details, they affect you psychologically. They can act as irritants. They can even influence your mood or how you feel. So I think I remember I wanted to put this painting in a bedroom, and John just said, absolutely, this is not happening. Well, we have one painting, but nevertheless, like keeping that environment as tidy as possible, because also, of course, the more things you have, the more dust it also accumulates, and of course that's the environment where you sleep and breathe. So I mean, it's all interlinked, but yeah, just
this is also exactly what Feng Shui says about clutter, because clutter is, of course, blocking the circulation of energy. So the environmental energy, the chi, has to come into your house. So first of all, it's important to have like your hallway should be also like easily accessible, and as you say, no clutter. The bedroom is the same thing. It's the same thing for the entirety of your house, because this also reflects like what's in your mind. Imagine you're working and you're working at a desk where there's like full of stuff on it. You will not think clearly. So it makes totally sense that to try to be as tidy as possible, and especially like the objects you kind of keep just for the sake of keeping. And I know a lot of people have an issue with getting rid of things they don't use. Can be clothes, but books or other things. These are like dead weights in your environment. You should get rid of them. And also from an energetical perspective, all the objects that you keep that don't belong to you, can be from your grandfather, can be whatever. Also, you don't know where this object have been. You don't know what this object kind of have been through. Also, this is not energetically not really good. And there is also, especially in the bedroom, in your wardrobe, when you keep like also clothes. Honestly, sorry, vintage, but second-hand clothes, it's a bit like that as well. Again, objects carry energy, and your clothes also carry energy. So not to go too deep into that, but that's why if you wear like more also natural clothes, natural fabrics like cotton, it's gonna be also better for you. So these are all the things you need to look at. We can go deeper, but I think that's it for the bedroom. There is one thing I wanted to mention is the mirror. So it's okay to have a mirror in your bedroom from a Feng Shui perspective, but just don't make it face the bed or put something on it when you go to sleep, because it's also an energy drainer, and it's kind of considered as like there is a third person in the room, like a third energy you don't want. So try to cover your mirrors when you go to sleep, or put your mirror not facing the bed.
All right, good. I think what we can, I mean, there are a lot of general topics when it comes to the whole house. And I mean, one thing that I was always very interested in, because we love candles at home. But there's quite a debate about candles and incense, and I think very often maybe people would want to create more romantic environment and use bedroom, for example, to light a lot of candles, which is, yeah, from one standpoint it's nice, but candles and incense are overall indoor combustion sources. So it really, and yeah, of course, it all comes down to ventilation. So same as we were talking about in kitchen, sure, if you use a candle and then you have some air circulation or windows open, it's not so bad. But generally, research has shown that burning candles can produce 15 to 200 micrograms per cubic meter of particle pollution, which is on average 30 times more than it's recommended by the health organization, right? So 30 times more. And now, of course, incense can make even more, up to 40 or 50 times above the limit. It all comes down, of course, to the chemicals that are also used in candles. So also when it comes to candles, if you can choose something like made, for example, from beeswax, it's much more natural, because a lot of chemicals nowadays they contain benzene or all the other types of chemicals that are really, really harmful for you. And similarly to what I was mentioning,
petrol derivatives.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly that. And also these paraffin candles, right? That are, as you've said, they're, well, petroleum derived, right? They have these things called soot particles. And soot particles are the things that also, as they burn, sometimes we even see like really black smoke. it gets attached to
It's
surfaces.
sticky,
It
like
gets
in your
sticky.
chimney.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So really, if you can, avoid paraffin candles, avoid scented candles.
They are
Try to.
everywhere. I see them everywhere, the
I
scented
know,
candles.
and of course they smell nice, but the harm that it is just not worth it. So try to choose natural candles. Best alternative would be beeswax candles, and of course, I'm not saying don't use candles at all, but make sure then to ventilate the area. Or like if you use incense, it smells nice. That's okay. Of course, you're not gonna die because of it, but make sure the room is well ventilated. And I think most importantly, just avoid the scented and paraffin, because they get sometimes even if you would have a candle burning, and I've noticed at home as well, and there was a white fabric. So that white fabric, even from half a meter away, it actually changes a bit color. So you
Really?
can see the chemicals really getting attached to this like wax color.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow, interesting. Okay, that's for the kind of the bedroom, but it's more in general because
In
the
general,
candles
yeah.
you can put them everywhere. I think maybe because we talk about candles, it's a good moment also to talk about lightning. We touched upon lightning on one of previous episodes, and there are two things we know that today. Of course, in Europe at least, we can only buy LEDs. So that's the only type of lightning we can buy. Two things to be careful, to be aware of in your house with LED lighting is first of all the temperature. So for the evening, you want to have like more warm light, which is everything kind of below 2,700, which is kind of okay. And during the daytime, you can go like 3,000, bit more than 3,000 Kelvin. But it's important to have in the evening like the warmer lights on. And then there is a bigger issue with LED lighting that is now come to light, is the fact that LED lights are flickering. So meaning we don't see it with the naked eye, but every LED light flickers fast. So there is like they go on, off, of course at a very fast rate. So your eyes don't notice it, but your nervous system does. So it has a huge impact on your health. And people get like maybe when they are at work, when the light is like not only a very cold lightning, but also with a lot of like LEDs and harsh lights with this flickering. They start getting headaches. They start being nauseous without
anxious.
Yes. So it has really an impact on the mental states, and a lot of research has come out now to point that out. So what can you do about it? The worst LEDs you can buy are often the cheapest. So there is a kind of correlation between quality and price. So all LEDs flicker, but some flicker faster. And these are the ones you want to have. So there are two kind of ways you can look at it. Some have a kind of non-flickering certification, often also the branded LEDs. Or you have to look for a flickering index that's below 0.1, which is equivalent to a flickering of like they say like 10%. So these are the numbers you need to look at. That's the only thing you can really do about it. If you go on a cheap website like Temu and you buy a LED light there, especially with dimmers, these are all very, very cheap. For sure, you're going to have flickering. So try to buy at least brands like Philips. They have this kind of certifications. Other brands as well. Try to replace those ones. There is a very interesting app on iPhone. I don't know if it's available on Android, and it's called the eye flickering app. I think I have it somewhere here. I forgot about the exact name. No, it's called the light flicker meter.
And how does it work?
Well, you can really when you have a light on, project it at the light, and it will calculate the flickering.
So because you don't see it with your naked eye like so easily, the flickering, right?
And so with this app, you can see for your LEDs at home which one are flickering too much, and then it will tell you what the flickering kind of index is. So it's like, I think it's a very interesting thing to have. Coming back to the bedroom, the effect of like warm or cold light. So everything that's above like 3000 Kelvin is going to have an effect also on your melatonin production. So it's important for the bedroom and in the evening to have warmer lights, because otherwise your melatonin production will be disrupted. One other thing for the lights is, of course, by the way, your phone also flickers, because these are OLED screens. So your phone also produces a flickering. So you can, of course, have an impact on the lightning, and the fact that you use, so the harsher the light, so the brighter the light, the more flickering. So there is on your phone a correlation between flickering and brightness. So at least at night, try to dim your light. And also you have this option on the iPhone at least of having these color filters. And you can use a red filter, because red will also help with the flickering. So that's the least flickering you will have, and the less blue light also you will have in your eyes. So if you really need to use your phone at night or in your bed, at least have these options. Another option at night is to have filtering glasses for the blue light, but it will also help a bit for the flickering. And try to get the most tinted glasses you have, because the ones that are like, just like normal glasses, and they say they filter blue light, they don't do much. So try to go into the more tinted ones, the amber or even the red ones. And they are getting like a lot of promotion now. You can see them, like the red glasses. They have a positive effect, so at least use them. But of course, you cannot use them during the day. They are not very practical, because it's really red. So that's it about the LEDs. Is that something you can like relate to?
Yeah, no, I think we even like touched briefly in a previous episode, in a previous podcast episode, right, when we also spoke about LED lighting, and indeed I can relate, or a few times at the office in autumn when it's like dark outside, sitting in that environment, I was not feeling well because it's super bright. So I can for sure relate, and it's something I haven't gotten to. I didn't get to it yet, but something I should replace at home as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned phones, and that was, and also the flickering light, and I thought, it's also very important to talk about the electromagnetic pollution, because we have so many devices at home nowadays. We have phones and laptops, and and this is an interesting one, because when it comes down to research, there is more and more research, but that research is not really done by large corporations. It's more like peer review, and when it comes to, for example, like meta-analysis, there's not that much. And for the time being, they're saying, radio frequencies maybe are not so good for you, but there's not strong correlation with, for example, some illnesses. But
it's difficult, no, to really measure.
Exactly.
How do you establish a correlation?
Because there's so much, in our environment, there's so many more things that are happening. So of course it's difficult to, although there is one thing, and actually it comes down to phones. So phones emit a lot of radio frequency, and especially what is important, that it's not only about that, it's also about the heat. And that especially concerns men. So we often have our phones in our pockets, like throughout the day. And based on this, they did this research in the US, that apparently phones in the pocket, and I don't know how they measured it, actually reduce sperm motility by 9% and sperm count by 11%. So prolonged usage, or having phone in your pocket all the time, and there are a few reasons. So of course there's radio frequency, and especially if you are, so for example, if you are you're in a train, and your phone tries to catch or connect with the tower, right? So even like 4G or 5G tries to connect, disconnect. There's even more activity happening
it's
there.
moving.
Exactly. And the second thing is the heat. So, and there is a lot of research, right, that heat, for example, or especially around our groin area, is or can affect the sperm count and motility. So because phone heats, especially even when it tries to connect to the tower, or we're streaming something, we're listening to music, the phone can reach to 40 to 45 degrees Celsius temperature, and that already is harmful. So I mean, of course, we're talking about home, but even at homes, I know I catch myself. I walk with the phone sometimes in the pocket.
Of course.
Just get it out, like get it out. And even a study showed that specifically, even when we speak on the phone, having phone at least 2 to 3 centimeters away from our face reduces radio frequency absorption by 90%. Meaning that if you can use a speaker, or even, of course, earplugs is not a perfect solution, but it's much better because earplugs emit only 5% of radio frequency that the phone has. So if you have Bluetooth buds, it's still not great, right? So, I mean, because I understand that it's still connecting, right? And there's still frequency involved, but it's still much better. So when you speak on your phone for prolonged periods of time, well, get either, or you use headphones, but ideally use even a speaker, because it's really bad. And just to conclude specifically on home, we have also Wi-Fi routers, right? So Wi-Fi routers also emit a lot of frequencies. It's not proven that it's very harmful, but I think it would be silly to assume that it doesn't have any impact if we already have a lot of evidence that phones do. So there are few alternatives. For the night, turn off your router. Also make sure your router is not somewhere like in your bedroom, right? That it's really, there is a distance. Also, when it comes to your phone, during the night, turn on airplane mode, right? Make sure that it really is sort of disconnected, and then, it doesn't try to constantly connect to, for example, either Wi-Fi or 4 or 5G, because it really then creates more harm.
Wow.
And the bespoke one, it just doesn't make sense. But apparently, well, maybe Paul Saladino. So he even wraps his he wraps some of his devices in aluminium foil, because metal then prevents the
creates like a Faraday cage.
Exactly. But then we don't want to live and spend that time probably on these crazy improvements. But it's
and two things also on phone is like your phone cases. So I have one who looks like plastic, but it's not plastic. It's really only natural fiber, because also you have it in your hands a lot of times. Also, hands are hot. So getting back to the microplastics, try to have like a cover that's from a natural fabrics, and also for the earbuds and everything that's like earphones. There is a research, a very recent research. I think it was like a month ago, with a lot of like also known brands having phthalates and other really bad compounds in their earphone buds. Sorry, but also like the ones that cover your ears are also not good. So be careful which brands. And there is a whole list with like really brands and different models online, so you can research that. So do your own research, because all these small things can have an impact. And then coming back also to your interesting facts on the sperm, there is also a lot of evidence of microplastics getting into the sperm. So,
it's also, I think, fair to conclude that a lot of this technology is still so new. So we are too early, to draw some conclusions and say, oh, this really has an impact. But there's more and more studies now coming out that, well, the prolonged use of like phones and laptops, that there is a link now with cancer as well. And we would be probably stupid to think that all of this technology has, no impact, because it's
basically we are lab rats.
Exactly. We are lab rats. So I think we should take, precautions ourselves. And maybe last thing you mentioned on headphones. So a better or healthier alternative is actually to still buy a cabled headphones than rather having them on Bluetooth, for example.
Yeah. I have like earpods, but I don't use them anymore. And I'm happy with my cable. All right. Are we going to the bathroom?
Let's go
which
to
is
the
a big
bathroom.
one also.
Yeah. sure.
Yeah, I like spending time in the bathroom, but I mean, there are like a lot of things you need to be careful of, because this is the place where you take care of your body. You put a lot of things on your body, and yeah. What is like the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about the bathroom?
Well, there's a lot.
Like the biggest one.
Yeah, the biggest one. I think if we categorize, okay, we have bathroom and we have toilet, of course, depending on your house and where you live. But I think, well, the very first probably would come mold to my
Yeah.
and the reason is that, well, I had experience at our apartment that we had mold, and I think as I've maybe I'm a bit biased because when I started having some gut issues, there's even research linking mold. I mean, mold is not only respiratory, right? It can really, I mean, it's not only about asthma. It can cause cognitive functions, headaches. You can actually get poisoned, right? And I think a
But
lot
how,
of
what is it like? How is it by inhalation?
yeah, so
By inhalation.
mostly it's inhalation. So mold is not only cosmetic, right? And according to national academies, uh, studies that there's a lot of research linking mold to respiratory issues, but now more and more there's even talk about mold detox. So of course, detox is sort of a post factum, like
Yeah.
if you had exposure to mold. But generally, even if you have, for example, how to spot it, right? Because it's not only that you're going to have in corners some sort of black spot, but a lot of our showers, for example, shower doors, they have this sort of plastic lining, right? That doesn't help the doors to get smashed. If it gets discolored, if it starts getting black or a bit yellow, that's also an issue of mold. So I think it all comes down to, first of all, very good ventilation after you have showers. Make sure not to close the door. Ideally, even open the window. Make
Because
sure.
not everybody has I am lucky. I have a window that I can open in my bathroom, but that's not the case
At least then
everywhere.
open the bathroom door, right? That there would be air circulating. And look, it all, of course, comes down to, well, I mean, it's a broader topic, maintaining, well, proper humidity at your home, but I think mold is poison. That's the bottom line. And now there's even like some sort of, well, of herbal medicine you can take that binds mold, and that basically helps you to extract it from the body, because people often can have mold poisoning or exposure to mold for prolonged periods of time. Or I'll tell you a quick example. I was watching this also podcast with this lady, and he said that there are particular dogs that are trained to detect mold, because there are examples where people buy a new home, they move into the house, all of a sudden they start having a bunch of health issues, right? They really get sick, and it's like, what is the issue? So they have the dog, and this dog came into the house, and apparently there was a lot of mold within walls. So it only doesn't come, to the bathroom. Of course, bathroom is the environment where you probably have the most of it, but yeah, you should really make sure to also clean if the mold, if you see mold in your bathroom, don't just, of course, ventilate, but also you have to clean it, because it can be really harmful.
White vinegar works very well on mold.
Okay.
If you want to use like a natural product, like if you take white vinegar, try to find one at like 8% or even 5% works, and like clean it with vinegar. That's good. But the ventilation part is a good one. And also mold is like it's kind of, you don't always see it. Sometimes you have to move things around and look in corners where you never look. And then
So, and another thing is it's also for home, not only for bathroom. There's this device called hygrometer, and hygrometer measures basically the humidity at your home. So a perfect home environment is where your humidity is between 40 and 60%, right? So if it's above 60%, that's a perfect environment for mold to prevail, and it's just too moist, right? If it's below 40%, that can also cause other issues. So your skin can get very dry, your nose could get dry, you could start bleeding. So also, too dry environment is not good. But yeah, this is probably one thing you can look into it. It's not that expensive, and then
No, it's not expensive at all. I've looked it up. It's not expensive. One other thing is, of course, with the rising prices of gas and electricity, one thing that still is important is like, when you think you're making some cost cutting by not warming certain rooms, you have to warm it up until like for a certain temperature at least, to avoid mold, because of course if your room is like humid and cold, you're gonna get mold at some point.
What about you? Like when you think of bathroom, what is sort of the first thing that comes to mind? And
I think indeed good ventilation. I often struggle with it because I have a ventilation system, but it's not. I have the impression it's not strong enough. I like to take long and hot showers, and that's a problem. Also, of course, there is then a lot of damp everywhere, but it's okay. I try to clean my walls also, and I use vinegar, which works quite well. What I think of is, I think everything that's hygiene related. So I like to check on the products I use, and I take one example that's I think important because we use it probably for most people at least once or maybe twice a day. It's toothpaste. Okay, it's maybe not related to like the bathroom itself, but it's something you use in the bathroom like quite often, and it's something also that adds up because you use it on a daily basis. Do you know the origin story of fluoride we have in our toothpastes?
The origin story?
Yeah.
No, the origin story I don't know. I only know, well, the implications of it. But
yeah. So it comes from the US in the 90s, like beginning of the 90s. And they noticed that they compared two cities in Colorado, and they noticed that there was one city where the people had like really less tooth decay than the others. And then they tried to search for correlations, and they found that but it's because in this city the fluoride in the water was higher. And fluoride is like a component you find naturally in water, but it's like at very, very, very small doses, right? But it was quite high naturally in this city. And then they tried to find a way to extract the fluoride and to synthesize it and to put it into toothpaste. So the problem was today now we compare, because there are cities that put fluoride in their water, especially in the US, but other cities as well. In South America, Australia does it as well. In some parts of the world, is still today they have tap water with fluoride in it. But the thing is, today in those observational studies, we don't see any difference between cities or countries with fluorides in their water and the other ones. So the original premise already was not right. So there were probably other factors, maybe lifestyle, eating habits, that were already impacting the tooth health. So of course, fluoride is not all good or all bad. It's more nuanced than that. So fluoride has a good impact on the enamel remineralization of your teeth. So there is an impact you can measure on remineralization. The issue is with the actual toothpaste dosages we use. You don't have the antibacterial effect with fluoride. You already have to have like high dosages. So the premise to say like, but it kills bacteria, it's not true. It has a beneficial is beneficial for your enamel, but no effect on like the bacteria itself, or it's very limited in small doses. Also, fluoride has been shown, especially in the last years, to have a neurotoxic effect. So it can accumulate in the brain at higher doses. But so if you're looking at the countries where there is fluoride in the tap water, plus in the toothpaste, you can already speak of like relatively high doses. And what they see is that there is, in some cities where the levels are really high, that there is a correlation between high fluoride levels and IQ. And babies being born with lower IQ. than in countries or cities without high levels of fluoride. So it's a very nuanced topic, but if you want to switch and say like, okay, I don't want to have this fluoride in my toothpaste anymore today, there are like very good alternatives which are natural and also that have a better antibacterial effect than fluoride. So you have one that I use, and that's, I think, the best alternative at the moment is nanohydroapatite. What is it? It's in fact the component of enamel. So it's synthesized, but it's the natural component of your enamel. So it works really good on remineralizing your teeth. And it has also a slight whitening effect. Honestly, I will never go back to fluoride toothpaste anymore. And I tried that. The best one, so beside nanohydroxyapatite, my God.
Yeah, I definitely won't remember that.
Yeah. There is like, the abbreviation is NHAP. Okay?
NHAP, okay.
NHAP. But it's important that the N is important because it's nano. So the particles are small enough to bind with your natural enamel. So it's really good for that. And then if you want to have a very good natural antibacterial effect, is xylitol. You know how this chewing gum, especially in the Netherlands, they have this a lot of chewing gums with xylitol. It's really good for the antibacterial effect, and it's like it's like a kind of a sugar from the birch tree, so it's very natural. But it's a kind of I mean,
yeah,
it's a sugar. So you already think like, oh, but it's not the sugar that create the cavities. So that's also something that I've been told as a kid. So don't eat sugar, you will have like tooth decay. It's not true. It's not the sugar. It's the acidity. So that creates cavities. So it can come from other things than sugar. So yeah, that's, I think, mostly. So there are some. I researched it, and there are some toothpastes that combine NHAP and xylitol together. So you have the remineralization effect and you have the antibacterial effect as well.
I think like if you're looking for easier solution and you're really looking to which toothpaste to pick. So for example, at home we just have a brand called Parodontax, and if you're buying, it actually says on the pack, no fluoride, because most 90% of toothpaste, they do have fluoride. So if it doesn't have fluoride, often on the pack it will just say no fluoride, and that's probably for you already a factor to determine it. As you mentioned about the chemicals, I thought bathroom, especially washing machine, all the laundry detergents, all the fabric softeners, and sometimes you enter the home and after someone hang the laundry and it smells so good. It does smell good, but that comes with a price,
Okay.
So I think when it comes to laundry detergents and fabric softeners, especially if there's fragrance, so similarly as with candles that we've discussed, it can really irritate your skin. It can cause skin dermatitis. It can cause a lot of issues. And there's actually this one alternative, and apparently it's not that expensive as I've thought. But industrial, so if you look at laundry more from industrial standpoint, or even hospitals, they use this system called ozone. So it's basically a small mechanism that attaches or links, or you link it to the washing machine, and what it does, it's a strong oxidizing disinfectant, right? So basically, if you wash your clothes, you don't even need to use a laundry detergent anymore, because this ozone system actually cleans your clothes, in a way that it kills all the bacteria, disinfects. The only difference is, your clothes might not smell like flowers anymore if you're using fabric softener, but it's also it's much more sustainable, like from all points of view, even from an environmental point of view. Also, so for example, this home ozone system, I think, can cost around 400 to 500 euros. That means that probably it's gonna pay off, in 1 year's worth of all the laundry detergents that you would be buying and fabric softeners. Of course, I'm not saying that this is a solution, but it's just a consideration, something you can look into.
How big is it? Is it like a big thing?
No, it's quite a small device. It's like this.
And is the water going through it?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I think that's how it works.
Ozone.
Exactly. So, well,
Okay.
it's called Ozone Laundry System. Exactly.
But as a brand, you mean it's a brand?
No, it's not a brand.
It's a system.
It's just
Okay.
exactly. It's Ozone Laundry System, and again, hospitals use it. For example, why? Because well, in hospitals, everything, the food, the bed sheets, everything has to be
Super clean.
yeah, exactly, super clean, and there shouldn't be any irritants whatsoever. And even some hotels use it because if you go to hotels, right? I mean, most bed sheets, they won't smell like flowers. They
Yeah, it's
just have
true.
neutral smell,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's what that's what this system does. So it's also something you could look into installing it at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you really want like to have like this nice smell, you can also use essential oils which are natural and
Yeah,
concentrated.
indeed.
Or you know what my grandmother did? She used like some dried lavender in a little pocket, and she
That's what all French
put it
people
in
do.
the put it
I
in
know.
the machine, and you had a nice lavender smell.
Yeah, no, true. I'm also thinking about more bathroom and also probably about more consumables because you mentioned toothpaste. A few I want to touch upon is, well, deodorants. Or everyone, well, the majority of people use deodorants unless you're South Korean, so you're lucky because you know the South Koreans, they have this genetically they don't sweat, or their sweat doesn't smell. But one thing I think everyone should look into is avoiding aluminum deodorants. There's been now a lot of research showing a link, especially for women, that aluminum deodorants or antiperspirants, which basically, well, you don't even sweat then anymore with antiperspirants, right?
Yeah.
So it clogs your sweat glands. It has a strong correlation with breast cancer. Right, so it's very important when you try to buy natural deodorants, try to make sure when you look at the ingredients that it doesn't have any aluminum. And not only that, I mean, it can also, besides this, it can also irritate your skin much more. And, you know, these also fragrance deodorants, yes, they're nice, but also it comes down, you know, with the fact that they're much more chemical. Than the natural one, so try to opt for those.
It's crazy that aluminum is still in the deodorants, right? That it's not like forbidden, because I still see them. So yeah, I use one with like which is kind of natural with like alunstone, you know.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's like it takes away like the odor, but it's not like it doesn't smell that good, let's say, but it takes away your sweat smell. And also, yeah, I think you need to look out for like the ones that tell you, anti sweat during like 48 hours. You already know, okay, what is in this thing.
Yeah, no, true. Actually, I also wanted to touch maybe last one. So sunscreens, because there's so much. Actually, Netherlands, they recently passed a law, I think a year ago, where now in all public places or public beaches, you have free sunscreen, because I think Netherlands is one of the leading countries with skin cancer. And but when it comes to sunscreen,
you know that's interesting. Can I interrupt you just for a second for an interesting fact? You know that the countries with the highest incidence of skin cancers are not the countries where you have the most sun?
Yeah, Netherlands. Yeah, it actually makes sense. Makes sense.
That's one example.
But you know, I mean, this goes on a deeper level. But the way also UV affects our skin is very much Well, it depends also on our nutrition.
Of course, it depends on your overall health.
Yeah, exactly. So, but getting back to the sunscreen, so a lot of sunscreens still have oxybenzone, and like all of these, petroleum-based additives, which are really, really harmful for our skin. And now there's quite a lot of research now showing that it can disrupt your hormones, and even countries like, for example, like Hawaii, they actually banned these types of sunscreen. So even if you come from abroad, you're not allowed to use it because it kills the coral reefs. So if you put it on your skin, and the thing is that at some point the sunscreen actually can even enter your bloodstream. So like a couple of hours later, and especially if it has a lot of chemicals, it can do that. And it can also even affect your fertility. It can dysregulate your hormones. So sunscreen is one of these things that you really should look into the not materials, but basically components, right? And one of the good alternatives are it's mineral based sunscreens. So that's one. The other one, which is a bit
So mineral based, like you say, like for example, zinc, right?
yeah, exactly that.
Yeah,
Exactly
which
that.
creates like a really.
It still protects you. So it has
Yeah.
UV, because
Yeah.
sunscreen is something that considered, well, it has to be approved, right? That protects you from UV. So mineral based still protects you from UV. Another alternative, and it's a bit more nuanced, because it hasn't been proved that it really protects from UV, but it acts as a good protection nevertheless, is actually beef tallow, or like or like
Really?
or animal fats. While ideally it doesn't fully protect you from UV, it still creates this, well, I don't know how to scientifically explain, but some sort of a shield, because also when your skin is a bit moisturized, you won't get burned, at least. So if you're really looking for
Wow.
alternatives,
I would intuitively think like, if
you'll
you
burn more.
Yeah, you're gonna cook.
I know, but but I think you'll cook when you. I mean, also look of an example. If you have a frying pan and there's no fat, and you just crack an egg, it's going to burn.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's
Yeah,
similarly with
interesting.
sun, that
Yeah.
something to.
That's interesting. Also, one thing is not related to sunscreen, but the way our body prepares for sun is also through our eyes. So if you go into the sun, try to not wear sunglasses at first. Try to have some sun into your eyes, because that's our body's way to monitor, okay, there is sun, and to prepare our skin as well. Yeah, just a random fact.
Yeah, no, but it's an interesting fact. Yeah. So, what else about the bathroom? Well, toilet is actually another one.
I have my toilet in my bathroom, and it's a small bathroom. So yeah, that's.
So you know, Allan, that once you flush, and
do I want to know first? Do I want to know?
No,
I need to know.
I think you should know.
Okay, tell me.
So if you flush your toilet, actually the water that comes out, it can reach up to 1.5 meters out, right? So basically it can flush out, or so 1.5 meters means that if you have any toothbrushes, or you have any towels around, please remove them, or ideally you should close the lid of the toilet before you flush, because even such bacteria from fecal, like E. coli, it can actually stay for 8 hours on the surfaces, right? So if you flush, there's your, I don't know, towel 1 meter away, next thing you know, you wipe your hands or face, or even worse, right? Or you have toothbrushes around, you can really
that's something I do. I've not always done it, but it's something I do now for a couple of years, is closing the lid before flushing. So first I look at my poop, like we discussed. Then I close the lid, and then I flush. You're right, and that's what the lid is for. I think all toilets have a lid, so it's not difficult to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Is there anything else from? I think bathroom we kind of covered.
Yeah, we covered the bathroom. Just maybe a minor, because I see a lot of I get a lot of ads on social media for like these random shower filters. So you know these shower heads that they have like this. So basically, these shower filters, honestly, I looked into the data. There is no real data. So it's better to have like a filtering system for your whole house, like for example salt based, but there are other like inverse osmosis as well for like your water for your whole house. But having this shower filters, they maybe work a little bit at first, but they won't improve your water that much, because if you have like, especially for hard water, and when you have like, it's maybe not as soft on your skin and your hair, a good idea is just to have a general a softening system for your whole house. And yeah, the salt ones are still like the most common ones, but you have other systems as well. But so the shower filters. There is no data behind that.
Okay.
That's it, I think, for the bathroom.
Yeah. So I mean, in general, I think we kind of covered probably the main rooms.
Yeah.
It's just probably some more additional general things that.
Yeah, I think you talked about the perfumes and everything, like the scented candles, but also all these like air refresheners, all these like chemical stuff. Try to get like natural alternatives. Maybe making the link also with perfume and fragrance, a perfume you put on you because it's also sitting in the bathroom often. Try not to put it on your skin, and a lot of people still put like your perfume on the skin and on your neck, because we know today that perfumes are full of endocrine disruptors. And there is no like direct correlation at the moment, but I think it's not a good idea to put this perfume where your thyroid gland sits. There is a rise in thyroid cancers, especially in women, and so at least be cautious, and just if you want really to put perfumes, put it on the clothes. But perfumes is something I don't use anymore. So I don't put any perfumes anymore. And if I do, it's from essential oils. And then I put it on the clothes. That's maybe a small one, but an important one.
I thought of perfumes and spraying. I also thought of over-disinfecting, like in general. We spoke a lot about hygiene and how important it is to maintain the environment clean. But there's an interesting point about over-disinfecting surfaces or using a lot of that material. And I'll give maybe an example from my end, that when I was little, my mom would always wash my hands and like every hour. But there's actually a lot of research suggesting that infants that live in kind of, environments with, with pets, it's somewhere in a farm, they develop a much stronger, more diverse microbiome. So technically, especially if you're a child, and it's kind of good to play in a dirt. It's good to get exposed to these different bacteria to build that immunity. And if you're constantly wiping, so again, cleaning the surface, right? Wiping from dirt is one thing. Disinfecting always and eliminating bacteria blindly can actually backfire on you, right? So, and too much sterilization may also reduce, as I've said, your microbial diversity. So be cautious about it. Or even, of course, washing hands is important, but don't always, I think from COVID, still a lot of people use these hand disinfectants, which is good, but a lot of them, or if you use too much of it, it's so I think there has to be a balance. So don't be too crazy.
I agree. I'm not like I don't have this obsession with germs. Of course, I'm careful, but I'm not like somebody who washes their hands all the time, or I don't use like this alcohol. No, I don't use it. But I know if my hands are dirty, I'm not going to put my fingers in my mouth or in my eye, So some basic kind of
you accumulate
rules.
some knowledge throughout the years.
Yeah, exactly. I try to. Maybe something, because you talked about like in the bedroom and the sheets and the quality of the fabrics, because in the house you have a lot of fabrics, but maybe something that's not really related directly to the house, but your clothing, because that's related to microplastics. Microplastics are also in your clothes, and that's something I've looked into recently. It's like, because we talked about like try to wear also natural fabrics, and there are now some studies that are really revealing that especially active wear and underwear that you would use in circumstances where you would sweat. Of course, underwear makes totally sense, and there is friction also. I'm thinking of like gym wear, yoga pants, all these things. They are made from plastic, so they can have all kind of fancy names, polyester, viscose, whatever. These are all petroleum derivatives, and they have microplastics, and often, especially the fancy ones that are like extra supple, extra extensible, that are like extra nice with the touching, you can be sure they're full of additives to make it so. And the problem with that is that with the sweating, which open your pores, and the friction, this is going to cause the leaching of the plastic particles, and they go through the skin barrier. And so try, especially when going to the gym or for your underwear, try to use cotton and natural fabrics, because that's one thing I see everywhere, and it's kind of trendy to have those clothes on, but avoid them. And then maybe unrelated, but related to the home, is the benefit of having a pet. So if you
Really?
think of having a pet at home, maybe for the germs it's not the best, but it's gonna have so many benefits on your mood.
Okay, so psychological
Yes,
medicine, yeah.
because it's also a kind of social interaction. We have like this loneliness epidemic, for example, at the moment. Having a pet kind of helps with that, because you have this social interaction, and also having a moment with your pet, like petting it, playing with it, gets you like in this kind of focus state where you're not like self-absorbed anymore, but you're giving to another being, and so that's very good. And also from like a more traditional spiritual Feng Shui perspective, having a pet is a very good addition for the energy. Pets can also feel energies in the room. So what does it mean? It means that when your pet is sick or has problems, it can be related to your environment, to his or her environment, meaning that maybe something is wrong with your house because you see your pet getting sick, because they are so sensitive and they pick up on like bad vibrations. If you compare with a Feng Shui lens, the dog and the cat has more a yin energy. So if you are someone that's like hyperactive and more young and like, always busy, maybe a cat is a good option because it will calm you down. If you need to be sometimes, to have some more energy, or to have some motivation to be more active, get a dog. And that's why you need to get a dog, out at least twice a day, and they are more young. So you have this difference, but it's super beneficial to have like a pet at home for like many reasons, and I recommend it for sure.
No, makes sense. I think what else did I want to say?
Do you want to cover something else in the
No, I think the last
house?
one maybe it just came to my mind, probably houseplants, right? Or having some greenery at home. And I think we've discussed in our previous podcast that, it's again more also for psychological reasons. Don't expect that, you're going to get a few plants and it's going to purify your air. Of course, it helps with that, but it's more for... It has calming effects. It's definitely good. And also the color green is naturally calming for your nervous system. So getting a few plants, and some of them, they don't really require a lot of maintenance, and so
then it's for me, it's so difficult to keep them like in a good shape. They are alive in my place, but it's not easy to keep them in good shape. So I have some work to do on that front. But I like having plants at home for sure. It's like also like Feng Shui recommends it, and especially in like places maybe that you don't go that often. You put some life in some rooms where you don't go that often. So that's an important one. I think we covered a lot. We can continue on other things, and in general, just maybe to conclude on some Feng Shui notes as well, we talked a lot about natural fabrics, natural ingredients, and it makes sense because and so for your house as well, if you can, natural floors, wood, a lot of wood is very important, but try in general to have a balance between all those different elements I often talk about. Like the water element is of course very present in the kitchen and in the bathroom, but if you have like a place where there is like no water, a water fountain is interesting to balance things out. Try to have wooden floors. try to have like these natural elements that you can bring into your home, the plants, or also the more wood element as well. But I think when I'm in a place where I see that the home is made of natural materials, I just feel so much better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think I like that a lot of these things that we discuss, even in a different context, they still very much correlate to the things we discussed in our previous podcasts. Even now when we're talking about anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Going, having a walk in nature, and how color green or wood or all of these things affect us. And I think if we can bring part of that almost forest to our home, I think we'll all feel
everything is
better.
related. I'm wondering what the impact will be of all the technology we have now in our houses, and the solar panels, the Wi-Fi, everything in the home is like more and more connected. We have all those intelligent homes coming, and I'm wondering, what the impact will be long term. But
I think we should just be mindful, not only blindly rely on the thing that we said, there's no research of the implications, but I think it would be stupid to think that it doesn't have any implications, because anything that emits some sort of a radio frequency or it's not that great. So great. I think we definitely covered a lot of interesting takeaways also for myself. So it was nice to have this conversation, and a lot of actionable points. I think
it was interesting to do the research on this one.
For sure.
All right.
Thanks, Allan.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.